The count came automatic now. Muscle memory born from 10,000 hours at the range. 10,000 magazines emptied into targets that didn't shoot back. 20 rounds. Staff Sergeant Alex Rivers pressed her back against granite that had stood for 1,000,000 years and would stand for 1,000,000 more, long after the blood dried and the bodies turned to dust. Her fingers found the magazine well of her M4, confirmed what her brain already knew: 20 rounds between 6 soldiers and whatever came next. The Montana wind cut through the mountain pass like a blade made of ice and whispered warnings. February at 8,000 feet didn't forgive mistakes. Neither did the 40 men currently tightening the noose around Sentinel Recon's position. "Sergeant," the voice came from her left. Corporal Sarah Chen, 29 years old, Stanford pre-med before she traded scalpels for field dressings and picked up a rifle because her brother died in Kandahar and someone had to finish what he started. Sarah's hands were dark with blood that wasn't hers. Not yet. "David's losing pressure. The shrapnel hit something internal. I need a hospital, not a goddamn hole in the rocks." David. Private David Chen, no relation to Sarah despite the shared name, though they joked about being secret cousins whenever the waiting got too long and the silence too heavy. 22 years old. First deployment. Kid had enlisted because his dad said the military would make a man out of him. Now pieces of a Russian RPG were making a corpse out of him instead. Alex's throat tightened. She swallowed it down. Leaders didn't get to feel. Not when people were dying. Not when the count stood at 20 rounds and dropping. "How long does he have?" Sarah's jaw clenched. That was answer enough. Movement to the right. Lance Corporal Jake Thompson, the team's heavy gunner, shifted his M240 machine gun to cover the western approach. Jake stood 6'3" and carried 240 pounds of muscle wrapped around a frame built for breaking things. He'd served with Delta Force before an injury sent him to regular infantry. Never talked about the injury, never talked about Delta, just carried his gun and did the work. 400 rounds left, Sarge." Jake's voice held the flat calm of a man who'd counted his ammunition in firefights across 3 continents. "Maybe 20 minutes if I'm careful." "Be very careful." "Always am." The radio crackled. Specialist Emma Rodriguez, 21, baby of the team, recruited straight from Signals Intelligence School because she could crack enemy communications faster than anyone at Fort Bragg. Her hands shook as she adjusted frequencies. Fear looked different on everyone. On Emma, it looked like trembling fingers and eyes too wide. "Sergeant, I'm still jammed on every channel. They're running professional-grade electronic warfare. This isn't local militia. This is..." "I know what it is, Emma." Alex knew, had known since the first mortar round found their range with mathematical precision. Since the ambush materialized from 3 directions, with a kind of coordination that required months of planning, not hours. This was a kill box, and Sentinel Recon had walked into the center of it like lambs queuing for the slaughter. Lance Corporal Ryan Cooper crawled over, his left arm hanging at an angle arms weren't meant to hang. Compound fracture. The bone hadn't broken skin yet, but it would. Everything broke eventually if you applied enough pressure. Ryan was 24, engaged. His fiancée was 8 months pregnant with a daughter they'd already named Grace, because that's what Ryan said she'd given him. Grace to be better than he was. Grace to survive long enough to be a father. 15 rounds in my sidearm. Ryan's face was chalk white. Pain did that. Painted you the color of ghosts. I can hold the eastern approach. You can barely hold your weapon. Watch me. Pride was dangerous. Got you killed faster than fear. But Alex understood it. Pride was sometimes all you had left when everything else was bleeding out into foreign soil. Sergeant Marcus Hayes appeared beside her. 35, team leader, the steady hand that kept Sentinel Recon from flying apart when gravity pulled hardest. Marcus had a daughter back home, 8 years old. Her name was Trinity. Her birthday was in 5 days. Marcus carried her photo in his helmet, talked to it sometimes when he thought no one was listening. Alex, Marcus kept his voice low, just between them. We're not holding this position for 90 minutes. I know. QRF is too far. Weather's too bad for air support. We're alone up here. I know that too, Marcus. So what's the play? Alex's hand found the emergency beacon in her vest pocket. Small device, black plastic, one button, one purpose. She'd carried it for 5 years and never once considered using it. The beacon was failure made tangible. Proof that everything else had already collapsed. Everything else had collapsed. She pulled it out, looked at it. The weight felt wrong. Too light for something carrying the combined hope of 6 lives. Alex, Marcus's tone shifted, recognition dawning. You sure? Was she sure? No. Certainty was a luxury purchased with intelligence reports and fire support and reinforcements that arrived before everyone died. They had none of those things. They had 20 rounds and a radio that didn't work, and a kid bleeding out while his namesake tried to save him with gauze and prayers. Anyone got a better idea? The silence lasted 3 seconds. 3 seconds where the only sounds were Jake's machine gun, the crack of incoming fire, and David Chen's shallow, rapid breathing that said his body was losing the fight, his will hadn't surrendered yet. Ryan spoke through gritted teeth. Press the damn button, Alex. She pressed it. The device vibrated once. Brief, almost imperceptible, then went still. No light, no sound. Somewhere above them, encrypted signals bounced through military satellites, screaming into the void that 6 Americans were dying on a mountain and needed help that wouldn't arrive in time. Alex set the beacon on the ground, picked up her rifle. The count hadn't changed, 20 rounds, but the math had shifted. 90 minutes until QRF, more like 180 kills required if every bullet found its target and no one made mistakes. They'd run out of ammunition in 3 minutes. After that, it was knives and fists against rifles and grenades, and the certain knowledge that somewhere in Virginia, an 8-year-old girl named Trinity would wake up on her birthday without a father. Then we make them earn it. Alex's voice cut through the chaos, hard, clear. The voice her mentor had taught her. The voice that said leaders don't break, even when breaking is the only logical response. Every single one of us. Marcus nodded once. Jake chambered around in his M240. Ryan positioned his pistol despite the arm that wouldn't stop screaming. Sarah pressed harder on David's wound with one hand and drew her sidearm with the other. Emma stopped shaking long enough to ready her rifle. And somewhere 300 miles south, in an office at Fort Bragg that smelled like old coffee and older regrets, a phone rang. 72 hours earlier, Fort Bragg looked different, softer in the winter sun, less like a training ground for violence and more like what it actually was, a place where people worked, lived, prepared for wars they hoped would never come. Alex Rivers walked across the main courtyard with February sun warming her face but not her bones. She'd gotten the call at 600. Anonymous voice, professional tone. Colonel Morrison requests your presence. Building 7, room 304. Come alone. Colonel James Hawk Morrison. The name carried weight in certain circles. Navy SEAL. Retired now. 3 decades of classified operations across continents most Americans couldn't find on a map. The kind of soldier who'd done things the country needed done, but couldn't acknowledge. And the man who'd trained Alex Rivers from nothing into something dangerous. Building 7 stood apart from the main complex. Older construction, red brick that had weathered too many seasons. The kind of building that kept secrets in its foundations. Room 304 was on the 3rd floor. No elevator. Alex took the stairs 2 at a time. Her boots echoed in the stairwell. Empty. Everyone was at morning formation or breakfast or wherever soldiers went when they weren't summoned by ghosts from the past. The door stood ajar. Alex knocked anyway. Courtesy mattered. Hawk had taught her that. Violence had rules. Break them and you became the thing you fought against. Come, The voice hit her like a fist wrapped in velvet. Deep, controlled. The vocal cords of a man who'd spent 30 years giving orders in whispers because loud men died first. Alex entered. The office belonged to another era. Wood desk scarred with decades of use. Metal filing cabinets that predated digital storage. No computer, just files, paper, the old way. The way secrets stayed secret before everything became ones and zeros waiting to be stolen. Behind the desk sat Colonel James Morrison, 65 years old, thinning hair more silver than brown, face carved from granite and experience, eyes the color of winter sky, cold, assessing, missing nothing. Those eyes had watched Alex grow from a furious 18-year-old into a soldier. 10 years. 10 years since Hawk had found her at her lowest. Since he'd offered something she didn't know she needed. Purpose. Sergeant Rivers. Hawk didn't stand, didn't need to. Authority wasn't about height. Thank you for coming. Sir. Alex remained at attention, old habits. Hawk had drilled them deep. At ease, sit. She sat. Hawk studied her. The silence stretched. This was another test. Everything with Hawk was a test. Patience, discipline, the ability to sit in discomfort without fidgeting. Alex waited. Finally, Hawk spoke. How's your mother? The question surprised her. Hawk rarely asked about family. She's well, sir, still in Montana, still complaining about the cold. She teach you to shoot? Yes, sir. Good woman. Raised you right after your father died. There it was, the blade sliding between ribs. Casual, precise. Captain David Rivers. Killed in action. Gulf War, February 1991. Alex had been 3 years old. Barely remembered him. Just fragments. A laugh. Strong hands. The smell of gun oil and Old Spice. Everything else came from photographs and stories her mother told when the whiskey made her honest. You asked me here to discuss my father, sir? Hawk's mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Not quite. Direct. I like that. No, Alex. I asked you here because I need you to finish something he started. He slid a folder across the desk. Manila. Unmarked. The kind of folder that didn't exist in any official database. Alex opened it. Inside, satellite imagery, mountain terrain, border region, Montana, her Montana, the Cascade Range near the Canadian border. 2 weeks ago, Hawk began, CIA intercepts caught chatter about a weapons sale. Russian origin, specifically enriched uranium. Small amounts, not enough for a bomb, but enough for a dirty device. Alex studied the photos. Where's it coming from? Canada, being transported south across the Montana border by a group we've been tracking since the Cold War. Cold War. The words landed heavy. How old is this group, sir? Old enough to remember when the Soviet Union was a country, not a history lesson. Hawk leaned forward. The leader is a man named Viktor Volkov, former KGB, very good at his job, very bad for us. Viktor Volkov. The name meant nothing to Alex. Should it? Hawk continued. Volkov has been operating in the shadows for 30 years, moving weapons, selling intelligence, destabilizing wherever profit calls. We've tried to catch him a dozen times. He's always 2 steps ahead. What's different now? Now we know his route. We know when. We know where. Hawk tapped the map. He's crossing here, 3 days from now, bringing the uranium and a contingent of former Spetsnaz soldiers as security. Former Spetsnaz, Russian Special Forces, the kind of men who trained in Siberian hell and graduated by surviving what would kill normal soldiers. You need someone to intercept. I need you to intercept. The words hung between them. Alex looked up from the file, met Hawk's eyes. Why me, sir? This is Tier 1 work, Delta, DevGru. Why a sergeant from regular infantry? Hawk stood, walked to the window, looked out at Fort Bragg sprawling below. Because you're David Rivers' daughter. The air left the room. Because 30 years ago, your father worked an operation against Viktor Volkov in Iraq, and Viktor killed him for it. Alex's hands clenched. The folder crumpled slightly. You knew. Her voice came out flat, dead. You knew who killed my father and you never told me. I couldn't tell you. Hawk turned. David's operation was classified, still is. The details of his death were buried under national security protocols. Protocols. The word tasted like ash. My mother spent 30 years thinking he died a hero. I spent my entire life trying to understand why he left us. He did die a hero, Alex. Don't. She stood. Don't you dare tell me what kind of death he had. You weren't there. You're right. Hawk's voice didn't rise, didn't need to. I wasn't there, but I lived with the guilt of sending him into that operation every day since. The confession surprised her. Hawk didn't do guilt, didn't do emotion. He continued, Your father was my friend, my brother. When he died, I made a promise. I'd watch over his family. I'd make sure his daughter didn't make the same mistakes he did. What mistakes? Hawk pulled another folder from his desk, older, more worn. He opened it. Inside, photos of a younger man, strong jaw, kind eyes, military uniform, Captain David Rivers, her father. David was a good soldier, Hawk said quietly, but he trusted the wrong people, believed loyalty was a two-way street. In our line of work, trust gets you killed. He pulled out another photo, a different man, hard face, Slavic features, cold eyes that had seen too much death and stopped counting. Viktor Volkov. This photo is from 1989, Berlin, before the wall fell. Hawk's finger traced the image. Your father met him during an intelligence operation. Viktor posed as a defector, fed David information, good information, the kind that saves lives. Alex's stomach twisted. She knew where this was going. David trusted him, brought him into our network. Viktor fed us intelligence for 2 years. Then in 1991, during the Gulf War, Viktor turned, gave Iraqi forces the location of your father's unit, walked David into an ambush. The words landed like bullets. 12 men died that day. David was the last one. Viktor executed him personally. Alex's vision blurred. She blinked it clear. Leaders didn't cry. Hawk had taught her that too. Why are you telling me this now? Because Viktor Volkov is 3 days from bringing weapons-grade uranium into the United States. Because I'm too old to stop him myself. And because, Hawk's voice softened, just a fraction, because you deserve the chance to finish what your father couldn't. Revenge. He was offering her revenge wrapped in duty. Alex looked at the photo of Viktor Volkov, tried to imagine this man killing her father, tried to imagine the moment, the fear, the betrayal. Failed. Some things were too dark to see clearly. What's the mission? Hawk pulled out final documents. You'll lead a 6-person recon team, Sentinel Recon. They're good soldiers, already briefed on the tactical situation, not the personal details. Your mission is to locate Viktor's convoy, confirm the uranium presence, and call in a strike team for capture. Not kill? We need Viktor alive for interrogation. The uranium is just one shipment. We need to know who's buying, who's selling, where else the pipeline runs. Alex nodded slowly. When do we leave? Tomorrow, 0600. You'll insert via helicopter to a forward operating point in Montana. Hike to the intercept position, set up surveillance, wait for Viktor. And if something goes wrong? Hawk's expression didn't change. Then you remember everything I taught you over the last 10 years. Every lesson, every drill, every moment where I pushed you harder than you thought you could be pushed. He walked closer, put a hand on her shoulder. The gesture felt foreign. Hawk wasn't the touching type. Alex, I trained you because your father asked me to. His last letter, Hawk's voice caught, barely. His last letter said if anything happened to him, I should watch over his family. Make sure you had what you needed. I didn't need training, sir. I needed a father. I know, but a father I couldn't be. A teacher I could manage. Alex looked at this man who'd shaped her into a weapon, who'd taken her anger and grief and forged them into something useful, something dangerous. 10 years of training, 10 years of preparing for a moment she didn't know was coming. I'll do it, she said. Not for revenge, not for you, for the 12 men who died because my father trusted the wrong person, so their families can have what mine never got. What's that? Closure. Hawk nodded. Good answer. I'll expect hourly check-ins via encrypted radio. Any sign of compromise, you abort. This is reconnaissance, not assault. Understood, sir. She turned to leave. Alex, she stopped. Your father would be proud of you. I know I am. The words settled into places she didn't know were empty. Alex left the office, walked down the stairs, out into February sun that suddenly felt warmer. Tomorrow, she'd meet her team. Tomorrow, she'd begin the mission. Tomorrow, she'd start walking the path her father never finished. But tonight, she'd sit with her mother's photo of Captain David Rivers and imagine the man he'd been before Viktor Volkov turned him into a ghost. Tonight, she'd remember why soldiers fight. Not for glory, not for medals, for the people who couldn't fight anymore, for the voices silenced by betrayal, for the chance to make the last 30 years mean something other than grief. Tomorrow. The mission briefing came at 800, a conference room that smelled like burnt coffee and nervous energy. 5 soldiers sat around a table scarred with coffee rings and the weight of 1,000 previous operations. Sergeant Marcus Hayes, 35, dark skin, steady eyes, the kind of leader who didn't need to raise his voice because everyone listened when he spoke. He had a daughter, Trinity, 8 years old. Her birthday was coming up. Corporal Sarah Chen, 29, Asian American, pre-med at Stanford before her brother died, and she decided saving lives in combat meant more than saving lives in hospitals. Practical, efficient, the best field medic Alex had ever worked with. Lance Corporal Jake Thompson, 32, built like a tank, former Delta Force before an injury nobody talked about sent him back to regular infantry. Carried the M240 machine gun like it weighed nothing. Probably could tear a man in half with his bare hands, but chose not to. Specialist Emma Rodriguez, 21, Latina, signals intelligence specialist, could crack enemy communications in 3 languages. Nervous energy barely contained. This would be her first real combat deployment. Lance Corporal Ryan Cooper, 24, white, average height, average build. Nothing remarkable except the intensity in his eyes that said he had something to prove. Engaged. His fiancée was pregnant, due in a month. Alex stood at the head of the table. Good morning. I'm Staff Sergeant Alex Rivers. I'll be commanding Sentinel Recon for this operation. She activated the projector. Satellite imagery filled the screen. Our target is Viktor Volkov, former KGB, currently operating as an independent arms dealer. Intelligence suggests he's transporting enriched uranium from Canada into the United States via the Montana border. Our mission is to locate, confirm, and call in a strike team for capture. Marcus leaned forward. Rules of engagement? Observe and report. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. Viktor has approximately 30 to 40 former Spetsnaz operators as security. We're not equipped to fight that force head-on. What's our exfil plan if we're compromised? Emergency beacon. QRF can be on site in 90 minutes. Until then, we evade and survive. Sarah raised her hand. Medical support? You're it, Corporal. Each team member carries individual first aid. You carry the advanced kit. Nearest hospital is 200 miles south. Emma's voice shook slightly. What about communications? If we're in the mountains, standard radio might not work. You'll have satellite comms, encrypted, direct line to Tactical Operations Center. Your job is to maintain that link, no matter what. Alex clicked to the next slide. Terrain map, elevation markers, route planning. We insert here via helicopter. Height 12 miles to observation position here. Set up surveillance. Wait for Victor's convoy. When we have visual confirmation of the uranium, we call it in and extract. How long are we looking at? Jake's voice was calm, professional, the voice of someone who'd done this before. 72 hours in position, maybe longer if Victor's delayed. Ammunition loadout? Standard combat load, 210 rounds rifle, 15 pistol, 800 machine gun. We're not planning to fight. If we're shooting, something's already gone wrong. Ryan spoke up. Sergeant, what's the threat assessment? What are we really looking at? Alex met his eyes. Honestly, if Victor's security catches us, we're outnumbered 7-1 by professional soldiers who spent their entire lives learning how to kill. Our only advantage is surprise and distance. We lose those, we die. The room went quiet. That's the reality, Alex continued. This is a high-risk operation. Anyone wants out, now's the time. Nobody moved. Good. We leave at 600 tomorrow. Pack light. Pack smart. Check your gear 3 times. Questions? Marcus stood. Sergeant Rivers, quick word? Private? They stepped into the hallway. I looked you up, Marcus said quietly. Trained under Colonel Morrison. Expert marksman. Multiple commendations. You're good at what you do. Thank you. But this is your first time commanding in combat. My daughter's birthday is in 5 days. I need to know you can get us home. Alex appreciated the honesty. I can't promise you'll make it home, Sergeant Hayes. I can promise I'll do everything I can to make sure you do. That's all any commander can offer. Marcus studied her face, looking for something. Confidence, maybe. Certainty. Finally, he nodded. Fair enough. I'll have the team ready. They returned to the briefing room, spent the next 3 hours going over contingencies, rally points, emergency procedures, what to do if communications failed, what to do if they were separated, what to do if someone was wounded and couldn't move. All the planning that went into operations where dying was a possibility you acknowledged, but didn't dwell on. At 1700, Alex dismissed them, walked back to her barracks alone, sat on her bunk, pulled out her phone, called her mother. Alex? Her mother's voice carried the warmth of Montana evenings and memories of a simpler time. Sweetheart, it's good to hear from you. Hi, Mom. Just wanted to check in. Is everything okay? You sound tired. Just busy, training exercise coming up. Might be out of contact for a few days. A pause. Her mother had been a military wife long enough to know what training exercise sometimes meant. Be careful, baby. Always am. Your father used to say that too. The words hung between them. Mom, did Dad ever talk about his work? About the people he worked with? Sometimes, not much. You know how classified operations are. Why? Just wondering, did he ever mention someone named Volkov? Silence. Then, once, right before his last deployment, he said if anything happened to him, I should tell you he was sorry. That Viktor Volkov was a mistake he couldn't fix. Alex's heart hammered. He said that? Those exact words? Yes, I didn't understand then. Thought he was just being dramatic. Soldiers do that sometimes before deployments. Get philosophical. Did he say anything else? Just that he loved us, that everything he did was to keep us safe, even when it looked like he was doing the wrong thing. Alex closed her eyes. Thanks, Mom. I need to go. Alex, whatever you're doing, whatever this is about, your father loved you. Don't forget that. I won't. She hung up, sat in silence. Her father had known Victor was a threat, had known he'd made a mistake, and had died trying to fix it. Alex pulled out the mission file, looked at Viktor Volkov's photo again. This man had killed her father. In 3 days, she'd be close enough to kill him back. The thought should have brought satisfaction. Instead, it just brought weight. Revenge was supposed to feel righteous. This just felt necessary. Alex stored the file, checked her gear. M4 rifle, 9 magazines. Sidearm, 3 magazines. Knife, first aid kit, water, rations. Everything a soldier needed to survive in hostile territory. Everything except certainty. She lay back on her bunk, tried to sleep, failed. Tomorrow, the mission began. In 72 hours, she'd either have answers or she'd have another reason to hate Viktor Volkov. Either way, her father's ghost would finally have company. The helicopter lifted at 600, 2 Blackhawks cutting through morning fog. Sentinel Recon split between them. Alex flew with Marcus and Sarah, Jake, Emma, and Ryan in the second bird. The flight took 90 minutes. Montana sprawled below them, mountains and forests, and the kind of wilderness that swallowed people who made mistakes. The pilot's voice crackled over the headset. LZ in 5 minutes. Alex checked her rifle, chambered around, looked at Marcus and Sarah. They nodded, ready. The helicopter flared, touched down in a clearing surrounded by pine trees that had stood for centuries. The team poured out, gear heavy, weapons ready. Both birds lifted immediately, couldn't stay on the ground long, too visible, too vulnerable. In 30 seconds, Sentinel Recon was alone in the Montana wilderness. Marcus pulled out a GPS. Observation point is 12 miles northeast. Elevation gain of 4,000 feet. We've got 8 hours before dark. Then let's move. Alex took point. Compass bearing northeast. Steady pace. They hiked in silence. Professional spacing. Eyes scanning. This was the easy part. Just walking. Just carrying weight. The hard part would come later. 6 hours in, they stopped for water. Emma checked communications. I've got satellite link. Strong signal. We're good. Keep it that way, Alex said. Jake scanned their back trail. No signs of pursuit. We're clean. They reached the observation point at 1700. A granite outcropping overlooking the valley below. Perfect sight lines. Natural cover. Exactly what the intelligence said it would be. Marcus set up the spotting scope. Sarah organized medical supplies. Jake positioned the machine gun to cover their northern approach. Emma established the communication station. Ryan took first watch on the southern route. Alex studied the valley. Somewhere down there, Viktor Volkov would appear, bringing uranium, bringing death, bringing answers. Sergeant, Marcus gestured to the scope. Take a look. Alex peered through. The valley floor was visible. A road, barely more than a dirt track, but passable for vehicles. That's the route? She asked. According to intelligence, Viktor should come through tomorrow evening. We'll see him hours before he reaches the border. And then we call it in. And then we call it in, Marcus confirmed. Alex nodded, stood, addressed the team. We're here for observation, not heroics. We spot Viktor, we confirm the uranium, we call for backup. Clear? Everyone nodded. Emma, you're our lifeline. That satellite link goes down, we're blind. Keep it operational. Yes, Sergeant. Jake, you're our insurance. If things go sideways, you give us covering fire while we extract. Don't be a hero, just buy us time. Understood. Sarah, anyone gets hit, you keep them alive. I don't care how. Use every trick you know. I will. Ryan, Marcus, you're with me on surveillance rotation. 4-hour shifts. Stay alert. Roger that. Alex looked at her team. 5 soldiers who trusted her to bring them home. 5 lives depending on her training, her judgment, her ability to remember everything Hawk had taught her. Don't fail them, a voice whispered. Your father failed. Don't make the same mistake. She pushed the voice down. Get some rest. Tomorrow we work. Night fell. Temperature dropped. February in Montana didn't forgive weakness. Alex took first watch, sat with the night vision scope, watched the valley turn green through the optics. Nothing moved, just wind and shadows and the weight of waiting. At 2,200, her radio crackled. Encrypted frequency. Hawk's voice. Sentinel Actual, this is Hawk. Radio check. Alex Keeter mic. Hawk, Sentinel Actual. I read you 5 by 5. Good. Status? In position. No contact. Waiting. Understood. Alex, I need to tell you something. About your father. Her grip tightened on the radio. Now's not the time, sir. It's exactly the time, because what I'm about to say might change how you approach this mission. Talk. Your father didn't just make a mistake with Victor. He was actively feeding him intelligence, knowingly, for 2 years. The words hit like a gut punch. You're saying he was a traitor. I'm saying he was a father who made terrible choices trying to protect his family. Victor threatened you and your mother. David believed if he cooperated, Victor would leave you alone. And you knew this. I discovered it 3 weeks before David died, confronted him. He broke down, confessed everything, begged me to help him fix it. Did you? I tried, set up a sting operation to catch Victor. David was going to wear a wire, get Victor to confess. Then we'd have enough to arrest him. What went wrong? Victor found out, killed David before the meet, left his body in the desert with a note saying, "Traitors die alone." Alex's vision blurred. Why are you telling me this now? Because you need to know what you're walking into. Viktor Volkov doesn't just kill people. He destroys them, turns them into weapons against themselves. He did it to your father. He'll try to do it to you. I'm not my father. No, you're better. Because I trained you. Because you know the cost of trust. Because you won't make his mistakes. Hawk, why did you really give me this mission? Silence. Then, because you deserve to face your father's killer. Because I owe David that much. And because, his voice softened, because you're the closest thing to a daughter I'll ever have. I want you to have closure. The admission surprised her. Hawk didn't do sentiment. Get some rest, Alex. Tomorrow you'll need it. The radio went dead. Alex sat in the dark, processing. Her father had been a traitor, had betrayed his country, had died for it. Everything she'd believed was a lie. The anger came slow, then fast, then overwhelming. She wanted to scream, to break something, to make the world hurt the way she hurt. Instead, she did what Hawk taught her. Breathed, controlled it, channeled it, turned rage into focus. Viktor Volkov had destroyed her father, turned a good man into a traitor, killed him when he tried to make it right. In 24 hours, she'd see him through a scope, and she'd make the choice her father never got to make. Mission or revenge, duty or justice, the right thing or the satisfying thing. Tomorrow would tell her what kind of soldier she'd become, what kind of person. Tomorrow. But tonight she sat watch over soldiers who trusted her and tried not to think about how many ways this could go wrong, how many ways she could fail them the same way her father failed his team. The count was still 20 rounds when everything went to hell, but that was 72 hours away. Tonight, Sentinel Recon was just 6 soldiers on a mountain, watching, waiting, preparing for the moment when waiting ended and survival began. The attack came at dawn. Wrong time, wrong direction, wrong everything. Alex was on watch when the first mortar round shrieked overhead. The sound cut through morning silence like a knife through flesh. She had maybe 2 seconds to process what her ears were telling her before the round impacted 30 meters south. The explosion lit the pre-dawn dark. Granite shattered. Shrapnel sang through the air with a particular whistle that meant pieces of mountain were now pieces of shrapnel looking for soft targets. Incoming! Alex's shout cut through the blast echo. Mortar fire! Take cover! The team moved on instinct, training overriding the paralysis that wanted to freeze them in place. Marcus rolled behind a boulder. Sarah grabbed the medical kit and dove into a depression. Jake swung the M240 toward the sound. Though mortars were indirect fire and shooting back at them was pointless. The second round hit closer, 20 meters. The concussion wave slapped Alex sideways. Her helmet cracked against granite. Stars exploded across her vision. A third round, 15 meters. They were bracketing, walking the fire towards Sentinel Recon's position with the precision that came from professional forward observers and quality equipment. "They've got us ranged," Marcus shouted. "We need to move." "Where?" Ryan screamed back. "South is a cliff. East and west are open ground." He was right. The observation position that had seemed perfect yesterday was now a trap. Good fields of fire meant good fields of being fired upon. Cover from observation meant nowhere to run when the mortars found you. Fourth round, 10 meters. Rock fragments the size of fists rained down. Emma fumbled with the radio. "I'm calling QRF. I'm calling." Fifth round, direct hit on their position. The blast picked up Private David Chen and threw him into a boulder like a child's toy. The sound he made when he hit, wet, breaking, wrong, was the sound Alex would hear in nightmares for years. "David!" Sarah was already moving, crawling through smoke and dust toward the crumpled form. Alex's ears rang. The world had gone muffled. She shook her head, forced clarity through the fog. "Emma! Comms! Trying!" The young specialist's voice cracked. "They're jamming everything. I can't get through." Then the small arms fire started. It came from 3 directions simultaneously: west, north, east. Professional coordination, interlocking fields of fire. The kind of ambush that required days of planning and reconnaissance. They'd been watched, studied, waited for. "Contact west." Jake opened up with the M240. The heavy gun roared. Brass casings flew. Tracers cut bright lines through the morning dark. "Contact north." Marcus fired controlled bursts with his rifle. "Multiple targets. They've got night vision." Alex pulled her rifle tight, scanned for targets. The fog was thick, but muzzle flashes were muzzle flashes. She found one. Squeezed. 19 rounds. The flash disappeared. "East! They're on the east side too." Ryan's voice carried a note Alex had never heard from him before. Not quite fear, not quite panic, something between. Sarah reached David. "He's breathing, unconscious, shrapnel to the torso. Can you stabilize?" "Not under fire. I need time." Time was the one thing they didn't have. Alex made the call. "Fall back to the depression. Everyone, move now." The depression was a bowl of granite barely 30 feet across. 3 walls of rock rising maybe 4 feet. The fourth side opened to the south, to a 1,000-foot drop into the gorge below. It was a terrible position. It was also their only option. Marcus grabbed David's drag handle, pulled. The kid's head lolled, blood soaked through his uniform. Dark, fast, the kind of bleeding that meant something important inside had been violated. Alex covered Marcus's movement, fired, 18 rounds, fired again, 17. Jake walked backward, M240 barking in controlled bursts. The big man moved with the calm deliberation of someone who'd been in hell before and knew the way out. Ryan stumbled. His left arm hung at a sickening angle. He'd been hit by shrapnel, or a ricochet, or a rock fragment. The result was the same. Compound fracture. The arm bent where no joint existed. "Nate! Ryan!" Alex corrected herself, called him by the wrong name. Combat did that. Your brain reached for patterns, for people who'd been there before. Ryan wasn't Nate. Nate was from a different team, a different life. "I'm okay," Ryan shouted. "Arm's broken, but I can still shoot." They tumbled into the depression. Sarah immediately started working on David, tearing open his vest, applying pressure. Her hands moved with the mechanical efficiency of someone who trained for this moment in 100 drills, but never actually believed it would come. Emma set up the radio, tried frequency after frequency, still jammed every channel. Marcus did a quick head count. 6 present, 1 urgent surgical. He looked at Alex. What's the play, Sergeant? Alex's mind raced through options. They were in a kill box. Professional ambush. At least 40 attackers based in the volume of fire. Mortars meant they had indirect fire capability. Jamming meant they had electronic warfare capability. Night vision meant they had technological advantage. Sentinel Recon had 6 rifles, 1 machine gun, limited ammunition, and nowhere to run. The math didn't work. Emma! Beacon! The specialist pulled the emergency beacon, activated it. The device blinked once. Transmitted. Beacon active. Help is coming. How long? 90 minutes minimum. 90 minutes. Alex checked her ammunition. 20 rounds in the current magazine. 2 more magazines. 60 rounds total. Jake's M240 was down to 400 rounds. Maybe. Marcus had maybe 60. Ryan had 15 in his pistol. Sarah had 20. Emma had 30, but she was shaking so badly, Alex doubted she could hit anything. Against 40-plus hostiles for 90 minutes. The math still didn't work. Alex keyed her radio. Different frequency. Encrypted. The one Hawk had given her for emergencies. Hawk, this is Sentinel Actual. We are in contact. Repeat, we are in contact. Static. Then a voice. Calm. Steady. The voice that had trained her through 1,000 impossible scenarios. Sentinel Actual. This is Hawk. I read you. Authenticate. Delta 7 Romeo. Confirmed. Give me sitrep. The world exploded around her. Rounds impacted the granite walls. Fragments flew. Alex pressed herself flat. 6 personnel, 1 urgent surgical, minimal ammunition, 40-plus hostiles, 3-sided attack, professional coordination. We activated beacon, but we can't hold 90 minutes. Silence on the other end. 2 seconds. 3. When Hawk spoke, his tone hadn't changed, but something underneath it shifted. QRF is wheels up. Weather's marginal, but they're pushing through. Alex, listen to me very carefully. You can hold 90 minutes. Sir, the numbers don't. The numbers never work. That's why we have something better than numbers. You remember what I taught you about elk hunting in Montana? The question seemed insane. They were dying and Hawk wanted to discuss hunting. Sir, this isn't the time. Answer the question, Sergeant. Alex's mind flashed back. Age 12, Montana wilderness. Her mother teaching her to shoot. The patience, the discipline. Patience is the hunter's weapon. Correct. And what did I teach you at Fort Bragg about marksmanship under stress? 1 shot, 1 kill isn't about speed. It's about certainty. Good. So here's what you're going to do. Stop thinking about 90 minutes. Stop thinking about 40 hostiles. Stop thinking about the ammunition you don't have. What do I think about? The next shot. Only the next shot. Make it count. Then worry about the one after. Movement on the western ridge. Alex shifted her rifle. Found a target through the scope. Professional spacing. Good cover discipline. Former military. Probably Spetsnaz like the intelligence said. She controlled her breathing. Found the space between heartbeats. Squeezed. The rifle kicked. Through the scope, she watched the man drop. 19 rounds. Good shot, Hawk's voice in her ear. Steady breath. Proper trigger press. Again. Another target. Alex adjusted. Fired. 18 rounds. The target fell. 2 for 2. Now tell me what you see. I see 40 men trying to kill us. No, you see targets. You see threat priorities. You see angles and distances. This is what you train for, Alex. Now do the work. A third target moved fast along the northern approach. Alex led him. Squeezed. 17 rounds. He stumbled. Fell. Didn't get up. 3 kills, 17 rounds remaining. Hawk's tone shifted. Clinical now. the voice of a teacher grading a student's work. Maintain this rate and you'll run dry in 6 minutes. We need to change the equation. How? Make them afraid. Fear is a force multiplier. Scared men make mistakes. What kills morale faster than anything? Alex thought through her training. Snipers! An invisible threat they can't locate. Correct, so be invisible. Shoot and move. Make them think you're everywhere. One shot from the north, next from the east. Never the same position twice. Marcus crawled over. Alex, who are you talking to? She covered the mic. Hawk, my old instructor. He's helping us. Marcus's expression shifted. The SEAL? The legend? The same. Then listen to him. We need all the help we can get. Alex keyed the radio. Hawk, understood. Shoot and move. She displaced. Low crawl. 10 meters to a new firing position. New angle on the western approach. 2 targets visible. Advancing in bounds. One moved while the other covered. Textbook small unit tactics. Alex took the stationary one first. Center mass. 16 rounds. The moving target hit the dirt. Smart. Disappeared behind cover. Good discipline on that one, Hawk observed. He's not exposing himself, so we wait. We don't have time for patience. You don't have time for impatience. There's a difference. 30 seconds crawled by. The target stayed hidden. Then he made the mistake. Peeked around the boulder. Just his head. Just for a second. Just long enough. Alex fired. 15 rounds. 4 down. Satisfaction crept into Hawk's voice. The enemy is realizing they're not fighting regular infantry. Watch. They'll change tactics. He was right. The incoming fire shifted. Less accurate, more suppressive. Volume over precision. The kind of shooting designed to keep heads down while another element maneuvered. They're trying to flank, Alex called. Of course they are. Classic tactics. What's your counter? Refuse the flank. Shift fire to the maneuvering element. Do it, Alex called to Jake. Machine gun, shift east. They're trying to roll us. Jake didn't question, just moved. The M240 roared. Tracers cut through fog. Contact east, Jake shouted. Multiple targets, maybe 8. They're taking casualties but still pushing. Emma's voice cracked with new urgency. Sergeant, I'm picking up radio traffic. They're calling for armor. BTR-80. They're bringing it up. BTR-80. 8-wheeled armored personnel carrier. 14.5 millimeter cannon that could chew through granite like paper. Alex's stomach dropped. Hawk, they're bringing armor. I heard. How long until it arrives? Emma? The specialist's fingers flew across her receiver. Russian chatter says 10 minutes, maybe less. 10 minutes. Alex looked at her ammunition. 15 rounds. Jake's M240 was burning through its last belt. Ryan's pistol had maybe 12 rounds after covering the eastern approach. Against a BTR, they might as well throw rocks. Hawk, we can't engage armor with small arms. No, you can't. So you don't engage the armor. You engage the commander. Explain. A BTR is blind without the vehicle commander calling targets. The commander stands in the open hatch, exposed from the chest up. You know this shot, Alex. You practiced it. She had practiced it. Hundreds of times on ranges with paper targets that didn't shoot back. Hitting a moving target on a moving vehicle at 600 meters while taking incoming fire was different mathematics entirely. Range will be 600 meters, maybe more. Can you make it? In training, yes. In combat, you do what's necessary because the alternative is watching your team die. Yes or no, Alex? Can you make the shot? She thought about her father, Captain David Rivers, dead at 32 because he trusted the wrong man. She thought about David Chen bleeding out while Sarah tried to save him. She thought about Marcus's daughter Trinity, who turned 8 in 5 days. Yes, I can make the shot. I know you can, Because I trained you. Because your mother trained you before that. Because you're a Rivers, and Rivers don't quit. Movement south. Ryan fired his pistol. Once. Twice. Contact south. They're probing for weak points. The noose tightened. Alex shifted to cover the southern approach. Found a target. Fired. 14 rounds. Another target. Fired. 13 rounds. Good shooting, Hawk said, but we need to talk about something. Kind of busy here, sir. I know. This won't take long. There's something about this mission you need to know. The tone in his voice changed. Became heavier. It wasn't random, Alex. Your team wasn't selected by chance. I requested you specifically. I requested this mission for you. The words didn't immediately register. Alex fired again. 12 rounds. Then they hit. You set this up? I arranged for Sentinel Recon to take this operation. Yes. I knew Victor Volkov would be here. I knew it would be dangerous. And I knew you deserved the chance to face the man who killed your father. Anger flared hot. You used me. I gave you an opportunity. You sent me into a kill box. I sent you into the same kind of operation your father died in. So you could succeed where he failed. So you could prove the Rivers name means something other than betrayal and death. A mortar round impacted 30 meters south. The concussion rattled Alex's teeth. Some opportunity. I also promised to make you into a soldier he'd be proud of. Tell me, Alex, are you? The question cut through the chaos. Was she a soldier her father would be proud of? Captain David Rivers, betrayed by a man he trusted, executed in a desert by someone who'd smiled while feeding him lies. Would he be proud that his daughter was here, in another kill box, fighting the same enemy? Or would he tell her to run, to live, to choose survival over revenge? She'd never know. I'm the soldier you made me. Whether that makes my father proud is between him and God. Fair answer. Now focus. Your BTR is 3 minutes out. Emma confirmed. Russian comms are coordinating. Armor push with infantry assault. Combined arms. Marcus crawled over. Alex, we need to fall back. This position is compromised. Fall back where? South is a cliff. East and west are open ground. Then we stay and die? We stay and fight. Hawk says we can win. Marcus looked at the radio. And you believe him? He's kept me alive for 10 years. I'm not stopping now. Automatic fire raked their position. Jake returned it with the M240. The gun went silent. Belt's dry, Jake called. Switching to rifle. 30 rounds left. The math was getting worse. 13 rounds in Alex's rifle. 12 in Ryan's pistol. 30 in Jake's rifle. Sarah had maybe 20. Emma had a full magazine, but she was shaking so badly, accuracy was questionable. Against 40 men in an armored vehicle. Then Emma screamed, "They've found me, tracking my position through the radio." She threw the receiver down. Too late. A grenade arced through the air. Perfect throw. Landed 3 feet from Emma's position. Time slowed. Alex saw it in frames. Individual moments stretched until they became separate realities. Emma looking at the grenade. Emma looking at Alex. Emma understanding she was about to die. Then movement. Ryan, with his broken arm hanging useless, threw himself across the space. He landed on top of Emma, covered her body with his. The grenade detonated. The blast picked Ryan up and threw him sideways into the granite wall. He hit with a sound that was wet and final. He slid down the wall, didn't move again. Emma scrambled out from under him, untouched. Ryan had taken the entire blast. "No, no, no," Emma's voice broke. "Ryan, Ryan, please." Sarah was already moving, checking vitals. Her face said everything. He's gone. Emma's scream cut through the gunfire, raw, primal, the sound of innocence dying. Marcus's face hardened. "Alex, we're down to 5. We can't." "I know what we can't do, Marcus. Tell me what we can." We can die fighting. That's about it. Hawk's voice cut in. Alex, I heard the explosion. Report. One Kia, Ryan Cooper. He saved Emma Rodriguez. A pause. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't bring him back. No, but it acknowledges his sacrifice. Now make it mean something. That BTR is 90 seconds out. Be ready. Alex moved to a position with clear sightlines south. The road where the BTR would approach was visible through gaps in fog. She ranged it with her scope. 620 meters. Long shot. Moving target. Wind from the west at 10 knots. 13 rounds to get it right. Hawk, I'm in position. Good. The BTR commander will be scanning for threats. He'll have his hatch open for visibility. Your window is maybe 3 seconds between when he appears and when he realizes you're there. 3 seconds? That's optimistic. Might be 2, might be 1. You won't get a second chance. No pressure. All the pressure, Alex. This shot determines if your team lives or dies. This is what everything I taught you was preparing for. She thought about Fort Bragg. Age 18, first day on the range with Hawk. He'd handed her a rifle and pointed at a target 600 meters downrange. Hit it, he'd said. She'd missed. By a lot. Again. She'd missed again. Keep shooting until you stop missing. She'd shot for 6 hours. Finally hit the target as the sun set. Hawk had nodded once. Adequate. Tomorrow we'll work on doing that under stress. 10 years of tomorrows. 10 years of stress. All leading to 3 seconds on a Montana mountain. I'm ready. The sound reached her first. Diesel engine grinding up a mountain road. Heavy, powerful. The mechanical growl of something built to survive what would kill men. Then she saw it. The BTR-80 emerged from fog like a nightmare made of steel. 8 wheels, armor plating, the cannon traversing slowly, searching. And standing in the commander's hatch, exactly as Hawk predicted, a man, heavy coat, night vision goggles pushed up on his forehead, scanning with binoculars. Professional, careful, about to die. Alex centered the crosshairs, adjusted for wind, for distance, for the vehicle's movement, controlled her breathing, felt her heartbeat slow, found the space between beats where the rifle wouldn't move. Squeezed. The rifle kicked. Through the scope, she watched the commander's head snap back, watched his body tumble forward, caught on the hatch rim. Arms dangling inside, blocking the hatch from closing. The BTR stopped. Dead stop. No commander, no eyes, no direction. Hit, Alex reported. Confirmed, Hawk said. Good shot. Your father made that same shot in training. You just made it in combat. 12 rounds left, but the BTR was neutralized. Without the commander, it was just 8 wheels and a gun that couldn't find targets. Hawk, vehicle disabled, but infantry still pushing. How many? 20, maybe 25 left. And your ammunition? 12 rounds rifle. Jake has 20. Sarah has 15. Emma's got a full mag, but she's... Alex looked at the young specialist. Emma was staring at Ryan's body, not crying anymore, just staring. She's not combat effective. Then you need to make a choice, Alex. What choice? The same choice your father faced. Trust your team or try to do it alone. Alex looked at Marcus, at Sarah, at Jake, at Emma. 5 soldiers, 4 functional, 1 dead, against 25 enemy combatants regrouping for a final push. Hawk, what if we change the equation again? I'm listening. What if we don't try to kill them all? Make them think we have support coming. Make them choose retreat. Psychological warfare. I like it. What do you need? Emma, can you hack their radio frequency? Emma looked up. Her face was pale, but her eyes had focused. The shock was fading. Purpose was replacing it. I can try. Don't try. Do it. I need you to broadcast a message on their command frequency. What message? Tell them American air support is 3 minutes out. F-16S with JDAMS. Tell them to retreat or be destroyed. Emma's fingers flew. I can't fake American military traffic. They'll know it's bogus. Use their own protocols. Make it sound like their commander is calling the retreat. Their commander is dead. You shot him. They don't know that. The BTR crew doesn't know. The infantry doesn't know. Give them an order. Tell them to retreat. Emma nodded, started working. Hawk's voice carried approval. Creative. Your father would never have thought of that. He was too straightforward. Honest gets you killed. Sometimes it makes you a hero. The trick is knowing when to be which. 60 seconds passed. The enemy infantry was reforming, gathering behind the stalled BTR, preparing for final assault. If Emma couldn't pull this off, the next push would overrun Sentinel Recon in minutes. Emma? Almost there, using voice modulator, making it sound like their commander. But I need something from you, Sergeant. What? I need you to trust me, like Ryan trusted me enough to die for me. The words hit hard. Alex met Emma's eyes, saw determination, purpose, the transformation from terrified kid to soldier happening in real time. I trust you, Emma. Make the call. Emma keyed the transmission, spoke in Russian. Her voice filtered through the modulator sounded male, authoritative, desperate. Alex didn't speak Russian, but she caught the tone. Urgent, commanding. The voice of a man ordering retreat before superior forces arrived. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then enemy radio traffic exploded. Confused voices, questions, someone demanding confirmation. Emma transmitted again, shorter, angry. The effect was immediate. Through her scope, Alex watched the enemy infantry start to pull back. Not running, not panicked, but moving, disengaging, falling back toward the BTR. It's working, Marcus breathed. They're retreating. Don't celebrate yet, Hawk warned. Retreating isn't routed. If they realize it's a trick, a single shot cracked through fog. Alex didn't see where it came from, just saw Emma jerk backward, saw red bloom across her chest. Sarah was on her instantly. Chest wound, through and through. She's bleeding bad. Emma's hands were red. She looked down at them, looked up at Alex. Did it work? Did they retreat? Yes. You did good, Emma. Ryan would be proud. Ryan is proud. Emma smiled, small, weak. Tell my family I wasn't a coward. Tell them I fought. You're going to tell them yourself. Sarah's going to fix you up. But Sarah's face said otherwise. The wound was too severe, too much blood. Emma knew it too. Sergeant, there's something I need to tell you. About the mission. Save your strength. No, you need to know. I didn't just get hacked. I was compromised before we deployed. The words took a moment to register. What? Viktor Volkov. He contacted me 3 weeks ago, said he had my parents' address in California, said he'd kill them if I didn't feed him information. Alex felt ice form in her veins. You told him we were coming? I told him the day, the general area. I didn't know the exact plan until we deployed. Tears cut through dirt on Emma's face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I got Ryan killed. I got us all. Emma, Alex gripped her hand. Ryan didn't die because of you. He died protecting you. That was his choice. But I betrayed. You were compromised by a man who spent 30 years destroying lives. That's on him, not you. What matters is what you did after. You helped us. You saved us. That's what I'll remember. Emma's breathing got shallow. Sergeant, one more thing. Victor knows about your father. He told me, said Captain Rivers died begging, said it would be funny if the daughter died the same way. The rage that filled Alex was cold, arctic, the kind of anger that didn't scream, just calculated. Where is Victor now? He's with the BTR. He was commanding from there. When you shot the commander, Emma coughed, blood on her lips. You probably missed him by 5 meters. He's still alive. Sarah looked up. Alex, she's going into shock. I need to. Emma's hand squeezed Alex's. Weak. Fading. Promise me something. Anything. Kill him. Kill Viktor Volkov. For Ryan. For David Chen. For your father. For all of us. I promise. Emma's hand went slack. Sarah checked her pulse. Shook her head. 2 dead now. Ryan Cooper and Emma Rodriguez. Alex stood, looked at the BTR through her scope. Somewhere near that vehicle, Viktor Volkov was alive. The man who'd killed her father. The man who'd compromised Emma. The man who'd orchestrated this entire kill box. 12 rounds left. One of them had Victor's name on it. Hawk, I need intel on Victor's position. Alex, the enemy is retreating. QRF is 40 minutes out. You can wait for... I'm not waiting. Emma died giving me information. Ryan died protecting her. I'm not letting their deaths be meaningless. Where is Victor? Silence on the radio. Then Hawk's voice, softer. I'm pulling satellite thermal now. Give me 30 seconds. Alex waited. Every second felt like an hour. Got him. Single heat signature, south of the BTR, approximately 50 meters. He's moving away. Looks like he's trying to exfil on foot. Range? 700 meters. Moving target. Difficult shot. Everything today has been a difficult shot. Alex, listen. Viktor Volkov is a survivor. He survived 30 years of people trying to kill him. If you miss, he'll disappear. You won't get another chance. Then I won't miss. She moved to new position. Higher ground. Better angle. Found Victor through her scope. Old man, maybe 60, moving with steady pace of someone who'd escaped kill boxes before. Not running. Running drew attention. Just walking. 700 meters. Wind from west. Target moving at 3 miles per hour. Lead him. Account for drop. Account for wind drift. 12 rounds. This one had to count. Hawk, I have the shot. Wait, before you take it, you need to know something about your father. Now is not the time. It's exactly the time, because what I'm about to tell you might change whether you pull that trigger. Alex's finger rested on the trigger. Light pressure. Not enough to fire, just enough to feel the resistance. Talk fast. Your father didn't die a hero, Alex. He died a traitor. The words detonated in her mind. What? David Rivers was compromised by Viktor Volkov, fed him intelligence, got American soldiers killed. Everything you think you know about his death is a lie the government told to protect his reputation. You're lying. I wish I was, but I was there, Alex. I was the one who discovered what David had done. I was the one who confronted him, and I was the one who watched Victor execute him after he'd outlived his usefulness. Through the scope, Victor kept walking. 680 meters now. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve the truth. Because I've spent 10 years training you while carrying the guilt of knowing your father betrayed everything you think you're fighting for. And because, Hawk's voice cracked, because I loved David like a brother, and I've hated myself for letting him die ever since. He was a traitor. He was a man who made a terrible choice to protect his family. Victor threatened your mother, threatened you. David believed if he cooperated, Victor would leave you alone. He was wrong. 660 meters. Victor was getting away. So my entire life has been built on a lie? No, it's been built on the truth that your father loved you enough to destroy himself trying to save you. That's not a lie. That's the most honest thing a man can do. Alex's vision blurred. She blinked it clear. And now you want me to kill the man who made him do it? I want you to make your own choice. Kill Victor because Emma asked you to. Kill him because he's a threat. Kill him for revenge. Or don't kill him. Call in the strike team. Let him face trial. Let the truth about your father stay buried. Through the scope, Victor looked back, directly at her position. Did he know? Could he see her? 640 meters. In 10 more seconds, he'd be out of range. Alex thought about her father, Captain David Rivers, traitor, victim, father, all three at once. She thought about Emma dying with apologies on her lips. She thought about Ryan throwing himself on a grenade. She thought about 10 years of training, 10 years of Hawk pushing her to be better, all leading to this moment. One shot, one choice. Alex's finger moved to the trigger. She controlled her breathing, found the space between heartbeats, made her choice, and squeezed. The rifle kicked against Alex's shoulder, the recoil familiar, comforting. 10 years of muscle memory channeled into one moment of absolute certainty. Through the scope, she watched Viktor Volkov take 3 more steps before his brain registered what his body already knew. He was dead, just didn't realize it yet. The bullet hit him high center mass, spun him sideways. He grabbed at his chest with hands that suddenly forgot how to grip. His knees buckled. He went down face first into the Montana snow. Didn't move again. 11 rounds left. Alex didn't feel triumph, didn't feel relief, just felt the hollow emptiness that comes after you've carried hate for so long, that killing the object of it leaves nothing but space where the anger used to live. Confirmed kill, she reported, voice flat, dead. Hawk's response came after a pause. Good shooting. Your father is avenged. My father was a traitor. You don't avenge traitors. Your father was a man who made impossible choices in impossible circumstances. Same as you just did. Same as every soldier who's ever had to decide between bad and worse. Alex lowered her rifle, looked at her team. Marcus, steady despite blood running down his face from a cut above his eye. Sarah, hands still red from trying to save Emma. Jake, reloading his rifle with movements that were pure automation. And the bodies. Ryan Cooper, Emma Rodriguez, David Chen, who'd stopped breathing sometime in the last 5 minutes, while everyone focused on staying alive. 3 dead. 3 soldiers who'd woken up this morning expecting to come home. The price kept climbing. Hawk, enemy status? Thermal shows scattered retreat. They're abandoning the BTR and pulling back north toward the Canadian border. Without Victor, there's no leadership. They're just trying to survive now. Same as us. Not quite the same. You're winning. They're dying. There's a difference. Winning. The word tasted wrong. Winners didn't stack bodies of their own soldiers. Winners didn't count rounds and pray the math held. QRF status? 38 minutes. 2 Black Hawks inbound. Weather's clearing. They'll make it. 38 minutes. Alex checked her watch. They'd been fighting for 52 minutes. Felt like 52 years. Time did strange things in combat, stretched and compressed until seconds became lifetimes and hours became heartbeats. Copy, we'll hold position. Alex. Hawk's voice changed, became softer, more personal. Before the cavalry arrives, there's something else you need to know. About Emma. She already told me Victor compromised her, threatened her family. That's part of it, but there's more. Emma came to me 3 weeks ago, told me what Victor had on her, asked what she should do. Alex felt ice form in her stomach. You knew? I knew, and I told her to play along, feed Victor information, but feed him information I wanted him to have. You used her as a double agent. I used her as a soldier, same as I'm using you. Same as I used your father 30 years ago. This is what intelligence work looks like, Alex. It's messy, it's morally complicated, and people die. You sent her into this knowing she'd be compromised. I sent her into this knowing she had the chance to redeem herself. To prove loyalty meant more than coercion. She made that choice when she broadcast the false retreat order. She made that choice when she confessed to you. She made that choice every time she decided being a soldier mattered more than being safe. Through the fog, movement. Not enemy. thermal signatures that matched American equipment. The QRF was close. Why are you telling me this now? Because when the debrief happens, they're going to ask questions. They're going to want to know how 6 soldiers held off 40 hostiles and destroyed an armored column. They're going to want to know about Emma's communications, about Victor's death, about all of it. What do you want me to say? The truth, that Emma Rodriguez died a hero, that Ryan Cooper saved her life at the cost of his own, that Victor Volkov was killed in combat by superior American marksmanship. The rest, the compromises, the moral complexity, the fact that I've been running an unauthorized intelligence operation for 30 years, that stays between us. You're asking me to lie. I'm asking you to protect the mission, protect the dead, protect the living. Your father never learned that lesson. Tried to tell the truth about what he'd done. Victor killed him before he could. I won't make that mistake with you. The sound of helicopter rotors reached them, distant but growing closer. The cavalry was almost here. Hawk, I need to ask you something. Go ahead. Did my father know? At the end? Did he know Victor was going to kill him? Silence on the line, long enough that Alex thought the connection had dropped. Then Hawk spoke. His voice carried 30 years of guilt. Yes, he knew. I was there, Alex. I watched it happen. Watched Victor put the gun to David's head. Your father looked at me before he died, said 3 words, "Tell her sorry." Then Victor pulled the trigger. The helicopters were visible now. 2 Blackhawks cutting through morning fog like mechanical angels. Sorry for what? For not being strong enough to tell Victor no, for choosing his family over his country, for leaving you to grow up without a father. For all of it, David carried more guilt than any one man should. In the end, I think he welcomed the bullet, welcomed not having to carry it anymore. Alex looked at the bodies of her team, Ryan, Emma, David Chen. 3 soldiers who'd never get to say sorry for anything, never get to explain their choices or defend their decisions. They just become names on a wall, statistics in a report, memories that would fade with everyone who knew them. I'm not my father, Hawk. No, you're better. You're what he could have been if he'd had better teachers, if circumstances had been different, if Victor Volkov hadn't existed. You're the version of David Rivers that survived. The Black Hawks flared, landing gear extended, dust and snow kicked up in blinding clouds. Sentinel Recon, this is Rescue 1. We have visual. Authenticate. Marcus grabbed the radio. Rescue 1, Sentinel Recon. Authentication Delta 7 Romeo. We have 3 KIA, 3 wounded. LZ is cold. Say again, LZ is cold. Copy 3 KIA. Medics are standing by, touching down in 30 seconds. Alex stood. Her legs didn't want to support her weight. Adrenaline debt coming due. The body's way of saying you'd pushed too hard for too long, and payment was required. She stumbled. Marcus caught her. Easy, Sergeant. We made it. It's over. Was it over? Ryan Cooper was still dead. Emma Rodriguez was still dead. David Chen was still dead. Victor Volkov was dead too. But that felt less like victory and more like checking a box on a list of things that needed doing. The helicopters touched down. Doors flew open. Medics poured out. Professional chaos. Organized urgency. The practiced movements of people who'd done this too many times. They went to the bodies first, confirmed what everyone already knew. Then they turned to the living. A medic reached Alex. Young kid, couldn't be more than 25. He had kind eyes and careful hands. Sergeant, I need to check you for injuries. I'm fine. You're bleeding from your head, your hands, and you're favoring your left side. You're not fine. Sit down. She sat. The medic worked, cleaning wounds, checking vitals, talking in the soothing tone medical professionals learn to use with people in shock. Alex wasn't listening. She was watching them load the bodies. Black bags, zippers closing over faces that had been alive 3 hours ago. Reduction of human beings to cargo. Another helicopter touched down. This one carried officers, a colonel she didn't recognize, two captains, and walking behind them, moving with the careful deliberation of a man who'd earned every year of his age, Colonel James Morrison. Hawk. He was shorter than Alex remembered, smaller, just an old man in a uniform that had seen better days. But his eyes were the same, sharp, assessing, missing nothing. He walked directly to her. The colonel tried to intercept. Hawk waved him off with a gesture that said, rank had privileges, and he was exercising them. Sergeant Rivers, formal, professional, for the audience. Colonel Morrison, she tried to stand. The medic pushed her back down. Stay seated, Sergeant. You've earned it. Hawk looked at the bodies being loaded. His face didn't change, but something behind his eyes did. Casualties? 3 KIA, sir. Cooper, Rodriguez, and Chen. 3 wounded. Myself, Hayes, and Thompson. All ambulatory. Hawk nodded once. And the enemy? Estimated 19 confirmed kills. 1 BTR disabled. Enemy force retreated north. Outstanding work under impossible circumstances. He pulled a folder from his jacket. I'll need your full report, but first, I need to speak with you privately. The colonel objected. Sir, regulations require... I'm aware of regulations, Colonel. I also outrank you, and this soldier is part of an ongoing classified operation that supersedes your authority. So unless you'd like to spend the rest of your career reviewing supply requisitions in Alaska, I suggest you go debrief the rest of her team. The colonel's face reddened, but he left. Hawk waited until they were alone. Or as alone as you could be on a mountain with 30 soldiers in 2 helicopters. Walk with me. Alex stood. The medic started to protest. Hawk's look silenced him. They walked 20 meters from the LZ, far enough for privacy, close enough that Alex could still see her team. Hawk stopped, looked out at the Montana wilderness, at the mountains that had nearly become their grave. Your father died here, did you know that? The words hit like a physical blow. What? Not this exact spot, but these mountains. Montana, February 1991. We were running an operation against KGB agents trying to infiltrate across the Canadian border. Same operation you just ran. Same terrain. Same enemy. You never told me. I couldn't. It was classified. Still is. But you deserve to know. Everything you did today, your father tried to do 30 years ago. He just didn't have what you have. What's that? Better training, better backup, and the knowledge that sometimes the mission matters more than the individual. Hawk turned to face her. David tried to save everyone, tried to be the hero. It got him killed and compromised the operation. You made harder choices. Let some die so others could live. That's what leadership looks like. It feels like failure. It always does. That's how you know you're human. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. Old, worn. I've been carrying this for 30 years, waiting for the right time to give it to you. I think now is that time. Alex took the envelope. Her name was written on it in handwriting she didn't recognize. No, that was wrong. She did recognize it. From childhood, from birthday cards and letters her mother had saved. Her father's handwriting. What is this? David wrote it the night before he died. Asked me to give it to his daughter if anything happened to him. I've read it. I know what it says. Whether you want to read it now or later or never is your choice. Alex held the envelope like it might explode. In a way, it might. Words from the dead had power, could change everything you thought you knew. Did he know? When he wrote this, did he know he was going to die? He suspected. Victor had been making threats. Your father knew he was compromised, knew it was only a matter of time before the betrayal caught up with him. Hawk's voice softened. He loved you, Alex. Everything he did, every mistake he made, was trying to protect you and your mother. He just chose the wrong way to do it. The Blackhawks were loading Wounded now. Marcus waved at her, signaling it was time to go. I need to get on that helicopter. I know, but first, look at me. Alex met his eyes. You did good today. Better than good. You did what needed doing, and you brought your people home. Not all of them, but enough. That's all any commander can ask for. Your father would be proud. I'm proud. And when you read that letter, remember that the man who wrote it loved you more than his own life. Then why did he choose betrayal? Because love makes us stupid, makes us believe we can control outcomes we can't control. Your father thought he could outsmart Victor, thought he could play both sides and protect everyone. He learned too late that you can't serve two masters. You have to choose. What would you have chosen? Hawk smiled, sad, tired. I'd have chosen the same thing you did, the mission, the country, the greater good. But I'm not a father. Never had that particular weakness. Your father did. It killed him. But it also made him human. Remember that when you judge him. The helicopters were spooling up. Last call. I have to go. Go. We'll debrief in 3 days. After you've had time to process. After the funerals. After you've decided what version of the truth you want to tell. Alex started to walk away. Stopped. Hawk? Yes? Thank you. For everything. For training me. For being there when my father couldn't. For keeping your promise to him. I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because I owed him, and because you deserve better than what life gave you. Did I become what he wanted? You became what he needed you to be. A soldier who makes hard choices and lives with them. That's worth more than all the heroism in the world. Alex nodded, walked to the helicopter, climbed aboard. The medics strapped her in. Marcus sat across from her, Jake beside him. Sarah was already unconscious, sedated for the flight. The helicopter lifted. The mountain fell away. Below them, the battlefield became smaller. The bodies, the blood, the evidence of violence. All of it shrinking until it looked like nothing, like it had never happened. But it had happened. 3 soldiers had died. 19 enemies had been killed. 1 ghost from the past had been put to rest. And somewhere in her jacket pocket, a letter from a dead father waited to be read. Alex closed her eyes. Let the helicopter's vibration lull her towards something that wasn't quite sleep, but wasn't quite consciousness either. The gray space where soldiers went when the fighting stopped and the processing began. She'd read the letter later, after the debrief, after the funerals, after she'd had time to decide if she wanted her father to stay a hero or become human. For now, she just wanted to feel the helicopter carry her away from the mountain, away from the cold, away from the choices she'd made and the weight they carried. But mountains didn't let go easily, and neither did ghosts. 3 days later, Fort Bragg looked different in daylight, softer, less like a training ground for violence and more like what it actually was, a place where people worked, lived, prepared for wars they hoped would never come. Alex walked across the main courtyard wearing dress blues she hadn't touched in months. The uniform felt wrong, too formal, too clean, like she was pretending to be someone she wasn't. Behind her, the rest of Sentinel Recon, Marcus, Jake, Sarah in a wheelchair, her leg still healing. They'd buried Ryan Cooper yesterday, full military honors, flag-draped coffin, 21-gun salute. His fiancée had held their newborn daughter through the whole ceremony, named her Grace, like Ryan wanted. Emma Rodriguez's funeral was tomorrow. David Chen's was next week. 3 funerals in 10 days. The price of survival kept compounding. They walked to Building 7, room 304, Hawk's office, the debrief location. The colonel from the mountain was there, 2 captains, a civilian Alex didn't recognize but who had CIA written all over him, and Hawk, standing by the window, looking older than he had 3 days ago, like the weight of everything had finally caught up. Sergeant Rivers, the colonel stood. Thank you for coming. Please, sit. Alex sat. The team spread out behind her, silent, waiting. The colonel opened a folder. I've read your preliminary report. Quite the engagement. 6 soldiers against 40-plus hostiles. 3 enemy vehicles destroyed. Estimated 19 enemy KIA. All this with minimal ammunition and no support. We had support, sir. Alex glanced at Hawk. Colonel Morrison provided tactical guidance via radio. Yes, about that. The colonel's tone sharpened. Colonel Morrison was not authorized to communicate with your team, was not read into the operation, and according to official records, had no knowledge of your mission parameters. And yet, Hawk spoke from the window, 6 soldiers are alive who would otherwise be dead. Seems like results speak louder than protocols. Protocols exist for a reason, Colonel. Protocols exist to cover asses when operations go sideways. This operation went sideways the moment Viktor Volkov learned its details. The question you should be asking is how he learned them, not why I helped clean up the mess. The CIA officer leaned forward. We've been investigating that question, Colonel, and we've found some interesting irregularities. Here it comes, Alex thought, the part where they blame Emma, where her sacrifice gets reduced to security breaches and procedural failures. Specialist Rodriguez was compromised, Alex said before the CIA officer could continue. Viktor Volkov threatened her family. She fed him limited information under duress. When she realized the scope of the threat, she confessed to me and assisted in neutralizing enemy communications. She died a hero, not a traitor. That's one interpretation, the CIA officer said. Another interpretation is that she compromised operational security and got 3 soldiers killed. Marcus stood. With respect, sir, that's bullshit. Sergeant Hayes, no, listen. Emma Rodriguez saved our lives. She was the one who hacked enemy comms and broadcast the false retreat. Without that, we'd all be dead. Whatever she did before doesn't erase what she did when it mattered. The CIA officer made notes. I see. And the death of Viktor Volkov. Your report says he was killed at 700 meters by rifle fire. Quite the shot, Sergeant Rivers. I got lucky. 700 meters in combat conditions isn't luck. That's skill. Where did you learn to shoot like that? Alex looked at Hawk. My mother taught me to hunt in Montana. Colonel Morrison refined those skills over the last 10 years. Interesting, because according to our intelligence, Viktor Volkov was standing in a position that should have been protected by terrain. The only angle that shot was possible from would require the shooter to be elevated approximately 200 meters above the engagement zone, which means I climbed, Alex interrupted, under fire, while my team provided suppression. It's in my report. The CIA officer smiled, didn't reach his eyes. Yes, it is. I'm just trying to understand how a sergeant with no special operations training managed to accomplish what Tier 1 snipers would consider a difficult shot. Maybe Tier 1 snipers never had the right motivation. And what was your motivation, Sergeant? The room went quiet. Alex met the officer's eyes. Viktor Volkov was responsible for the deaths of American soldiers, including my father. I had 30 years of motivation. Ah, yes, Captain David Rivers, killed in action, 1991. Interesting coincidence that you ended up on the same operation that killed him. There are no coincidences in our line of work, Hawk said. I specifically requested Sergeant Rivers for this mission because she had the skills required and the personal stake to see it through. Everything that happened was within operational parameters I established. Parameters you had no authority to establish. I had 30 years of field experience and the tactical judgment to know when protocols needed to be flexible. You want to write me up for that? Go ahead. I'm retiring next month anyway. But don't you dare diminish what these soldiers accomplished because you're more concerned with ass covering than actual results. The colonel held up a hand. Gentlemen, let's keep this professional. He turned to Alex. Sergeant Rivers, for the record, did you kill Viktor Volkov as an act of revenge for your father's death? The question hung in the air. Alex thought about that moment. Finger on the trigger, Victor in her crosshairs. The choice between justice and vengeance. I killed Viktor Volkov because he was an enemy combatant representing an active threat to American security. The fact that he also killed my father was secondary to the mission objective. But you knew. When you pulled the trigger, you knew who he was. I knew, and I made the shot anyway, because that's what soldiers do. We don't let personal feelings compromise tactical decisions. The CIA officer leaned back. Very convenient answer, Sergeant. It's the truth. Truth is subjective in our business. No, Alex said. Truth is truth. What we choose to do with it is subjective. The debrief continued for another hour. Questions about ammunition expenditure, about enemy tactics, about the BTR engagement, about Emma's communications, about every decision made in those 52 minutes on the mountain. Alex answered them all. Marcus and Jake filled in details. Sarah added what she could from memory. The official story crystallized. 6 soldiers on a reconnaissance mission encountered superior enemy forces. Through superior tactics, training, and marksmanship, they held their position until reinforcements arrived. 3 soldiers gave their lives. The enemy was routed. The mission was accomplished. Clean, simple, heroic. The truth underneath was messier, complicated, human. But truth wasn't what the reports needed. Reports needed narratives that fit bureaucratic boxes. Finally, the colonel closed his folder. Thank you, Sergeant Rivers, Sergeant Hayes, Lance Corporal Thompson, Corporal Chen. Your service is noted. You're dismissed. They stood, filed out. Only Alex remained. Sergeant Rivers, one more moment, the CIA officer said. Hawk moved to leave. The officer stopped him. You too, Colonel. This concerns you. When the room was clear except for the 3 of them, the officer's demeanor changed, became less adversarial, more tired. Off the record, he began, I know what really happened up there. I know Emma was a double agent, willing or not. I know Viktor Volkov's death was personal as much as tactical. I know Colonel Morrison has been running an off-books intelligence operation for 3 decades. Alex tensed. And I don't care, because the alternative is admitting that a KGB agent compromised our security, that weapons-grade uranium almost entered the country, and that our official intelligence apparatus missed all of it. So the official story stands. Emma Rodriguez died a hero. Viktor Volkov was killed in combat. Colonel Morrison provided authorized tactical support. Everyone goes home with their reputation intact. What's the catch? The catch is that this operation never happened. The intelligence about uranium trafficking gets buried under national security protocols. Viktor Volkov officially died in a car accident in Russia. And you, Sergeant Rivers, forget everything you learned about your father. Excuse me? The officer pulled out another folder, thicker than the first. Captain David Rivers was not killed in action. He was executed by Viktor Volkov after being exposed as a double agent feeding intelligence to the KGB. His death was covered up to protect operational security and maintain morale. That truth stays buried. You want me to keep lying about my father? I want you to accept that some truths serve no purpose except to cause pain. Your father made mistakes. He paid for them. Let that be enough. Alex looked at Hawk. The old man's face was unreadable. And if I refuse, then your security clearance gets revoked. Your career ends. And the benefits due to your mother as the widow of a fallen soldier get reevaluated. Turns out traitors' families aren't entitled to the same considerations as heroes' families. The threat was clear. Play along or lose everything. This is blackmail. This is reality. Welcome to intelligence work, Sergeant. It's not about right and wrong. It's about what serves the mission. Alex stood. Is that all? That's all. Dismissed. She walked to the door, stopped. For the record, My father wasn't a traitor. He was a man who made impossible choices in impossible circumstances, same as every other soldier who's ever worn this uniform. You want to reduce him to a security footnote? That's your choice. But I know what he was, and that's enough. She left before the officer could respond. Hawk followed her into the hallway. Alex, wait. She stopped, didn't turn around. I'm sorry. I should have warned you about the CIA's position on David's record. Would it have changed anything? No, but you deserve to know. I deserved a lot of things, Hawk. A father who didn't die when I was 3. A mother who didn't spend 30 years wondering if her husband's sacrifice meant anything. Truth instead of cover stories, and classified files, and bureaucrats protecting their careers. She turned, looked at this man who'd shaped her life for a decade. Did you know, when you started training me, did you know they'd never let the truth come out? I suspected. The government doesn't like admitting mistakes. Easier to create heroes than explain complexity. So you made me into a weapon and pointed me at my father's killer, knowing I'd never get closure. Never get truth. Just another mission that gets buried under classification stamps. I made you into a soldier who could survive what your father couldn't. That was my promise to him. I kept it. By lying to me for 10 years. By giving you the tools to make your own choices. What you did on that mountain was your decision, Alex. Not mine. Not the CIA's. Yours. You chose to pull that trigger. You chose to kill Victor. You chose to protect your team over your personal vendetta. Those were your choices, and you made them well. Alex felt the weight of the letter in her pocket, still unread, still waiting. I need to go. Read the letter, Alex. Before you decide what to think about your father, read what he wanted to tell you. Maybe I don't want to know. Then you're not the soldier I trained you to be. That soldier faces truth head-on, doesn't hide from hard things. Alex walked away, down the stairs, out of Building 7, into February sun that felt too warm for the cold she carried inside. She found a bench, empty, overlooked, sat down, pulled out the envelope, her father's handwriting, 30 years old, addressed to a daughter who was 3 when he wrote it, who couldn't read when he died. Alex opened it. Inside, 2 pages, handwritten, careful script. She read, "My dearest Alex, if you're reading this, I'm dead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I won't see you grow up, won't teach you to ride a bike or drive a car, or navigate the 1,000 small moments that make a life. I'm sorry your mother has to raise you alone. I'm sorry for all of it, but mostly, I'm sorry for failing. I made a choice, a terrible choice. I thought I could protect you and your mother by working with a man named Victor Volkov. He promised if I gave him information, he'd leave my family alone. I believed him. I was wrong. By the time I realized Victor was using me, people had died. American soldiers, good men, their blood is on my hands. I tried to fix it, tried to warn Hawk and the team, but it was too late. Victor knows I betrayed him. He's going to kill me, probably tomorrow. Probably in a way that looks like combat, so the truth stays buried. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm asking for understanding. I was scared, Alex. Scared of losing you. Scared of your mother being alone. Scared that my job was going to take me away from the only things that mattered. So I made a deal with the devil and convinced myself I was protecting what I loved. Instead, I destroyed it. When you're old enough to understand this, I want you to know something. Fear makes cowards of us all. It makes us betray principles we claim to hold. It makes us choose comfort over courage. It makes us human. I was human, flawed, weak when I needed to be strong, and I paid the price. But you don't have to. Be better than me, Alex. Be braver. When fear tells you to compromise, to take the easy path, to protect yourself at others' expense, don't listen. Choose the hard right over the easy wrong. Choose duty over comfort. Choose truth over convenient lies. Be the soldier I couldn't be. Hawk will watch over you. I asked him to. He's a good man, better than me. Learn from him. Let him teach you what I never could. And when you're grown, when you're old enough to understand what I've written here, make your own choice about what it means. Maybe you'll hate me. Maybe you'll understand. Maybe you'll feel nothing at all. Whatever you feel, know this. I loved you. I love you. I will always love you. Even dead, even disgraced, even reduced to a cautionary tale about the cost of compromise. You are my daughter, my legacy, the best thing I ever did. Make it count. Dad. Alex read it twice, then a third time. The words blurred. She blinked, the tears clear. Around her, Fort Bragg continued its daily rhythm. Soldiers marching, vehicles moving, the machinery of military life grinding forward like it always did. Indifferent to individual pain. Indifferent to letters from dead fathers and daughters, trying to understand what inheritance meant. She folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope, slipped it into her jacket pocket next to her heart. Her father had been human, flawed, weak when strength was required, same as everyone, same as Alex, who'd pulled a trigger on a man she hated and called it duty, same as Emma, who'd betrayed her team and died trying to make it right, same as Hawk, who'd spent 30 years keeping a promise to a dead friend and called it redemption. All of them human, all of them carrying weight they couldn't put down. Alex stood, walked toward the barracks. She had a funeral to prepare for tomorrow, then another next week, then the rest of her life to figure out what kind of soldier she wanted to be. Not her father's daughter, not Hawk's weapon, not the CIA's convenient story, just Alex Rivers, sergeant, sniper, survivor. Someone who'd faced Viktor Volkov and chosen mission over revenge. Someone who'd counted down from 20 rounds and made every one count. Someone who'd stood sentinel on a frozen mountain and refused to let the darkness win. The letter had given her clarity. Her father had made terrible choices trying to protect what he loved. Alex had made hard choices trying to protect what mattered. Different motivations, different outcomes, but the same truth underneath. Love and duty were sometimes the same thing. Sometimes they weren't. The trick was knowing which was which before you pulled the trigger. Alex thought she was starting to understand, starting to see that her father's legacy wasn't betrayal or heroism or anything that fit neatly into official reports. It was the messy reality of being human in situations that demanded more than human could give. And maybe that was enough. Maybe understanding was its own form of forgiveness. She'd never know for sure. The dead didn't answer questions. They just left letters and memories and daughters who had to figure out what it all meant. Alex walked into the barracks, found her bunk, sat down. Hawk had said, "Read the letter before deciding what to think." She'd read it, and her decision was this. Captain David Rivers had been a man. Nothing more, nothing less. He'd made mistakes and paid for them, had loved his daughter enough to die protecting her, even if the protection failed. That was enough. It had to be, because the alternative was carrying hate for someone who'd already carried enough for both of them. 5 years later, Major Alex Rivers stood on the same firing range where Hawk had first taught her to shoot. Fort Bragg. Early morning, February cold that cut through everything. Across from her, a young woman, 24 years old, dark hair, sharp eyes, nervous energy barely contained. Sergeant Maya Chen, David Chen's younger sister, who'd enlisted 3 years ago because her brother died and someone had to carry his name forward. "You ready?" Alex asked. Maya nodded, checked her rifle. Proper technique. Hawk had taught her well. Hawk. Colonel James Morrison had retired 4 years ago, died 2 months later. Heart attack. Quick. Painless. The way he would have wanted. His funeral had drawn hundreds, SEALs from 3 decades of operations, officers he'd trained, soldiers he'd saved, and Alex, who'd stood at the grave and said goodbye, to the closest thing to a father she'd known. He'd left her a letter too, shorter than her father's, just 3 lines. You exceeded every expectation. Your father would be proud. I know I am. Simple, direct, Hawk to the end. Alex wore his old rangefinder around her neck now, carried it on every mission, a reminder that good teachers lived on in their students. Sergeant Chen, Alex called. Target is 600 meters. Wind from the west at 8 knots. Show me what you've learned. Maya settled into position. Controlled breathing, proper sight picture, the fundamentals that separated amateurs from professionals. She fired. Through her spotting scope, Alex watched the round impact. Center mass, perfect. Good shot. Again. Maya fired. Another hit. Again. And again. 5 rounds, 5 hits. The kind of consistency that came from hours of practice and natural talent. Excellent, Alex said. You're ready. Ready for what, ma'am? For the mission I'm assigning you. There's a situation developing in Montana, near the Canadian border. Intelligence suggests arms trafficking. You'll lead a 4-person team, reconnaissance and interdiction. Maya's eyes widened. Ma'am, I've never led a team before. Neither had I when Hawk gave me my first command. You learn by doing. Besides, you've got something more important than experience. What's that? You've got a name worth living up to. Your brother was a good soldier, died protecting his team. Now you get to prove the Chen family produces warriors, not casualties. Maya swallowed hard. I won't let you down, ma'am. I know, because I trained you. Same way Hawk trained me. Same way my father tried to train himself before circumstances broke him. You're part of a legacy now, Maya. Make it count. The young sergeant saluted, sharp, precise, then jogged toward the barracks to brief her team. Alex watched her go, saw herself 5 years ago, young, angry, carrying her father's ghost and looking for someone to kill who deserved it. She'd found Viktor Volkov, killed him, discovered that revenge was just another word for emptiness. But she'd also found purpose, found that training the next generation meant more than settling old scores. Hawk had known, had spent 10 years teaching her, so she could spend the next 10 teaching others. The cycle continued, teacher to student, student to teacher, knowledge passing forward like a torch in darkness. Her radio crackled. Major Rivers, you have a call on secure line. Priority Alpha. Alex walked to the command post, picked up the encrypted phone. Rivers. Major, this is General Patterson, JSOC. We have a situation. Arms deal going bad in Montana, near the Canadian border. Team leader is Sergeant Maya Chen. She's requesting backup. Alex's stomach dropped. What kind of situation? Ambush, professional coordination. She's holding with 4 personnel against approximately 30 hostiles. Sounds familiar? It did. Too familiar. I'm wheels up in 10 minutes. Negative, Major. You're not authorized for direct action. This is Sergeant Chen's operation. You're only cleared to provide tactical support. Provide tactical support. The same thing Hawk had done for her. The cycle continues. Understood, sir. Patching into their comms now. She switched frequencies, found Maya's team. Gunfire, shouting, the chaos of combat transmitted through static. Sentinel-2, this is Sentinel Actual. I read your beacon. Authenticate. Maya's voice came back, strained but steady. Sentinel Actual, this is Sentinel-2. Authentication, Echo Niner Charlie. Confirmed. Give me sitrep, Maya. 4 personnel, 1 urgent surgical. We're down to minimal ammunition. 30+ hostiles with professional equipment. Ma'am, I don't think we can hold. Alex closed her eyes, heard her own voice from 5 years ago, heard the same fear, the same doubt. Opened her eyes, became what Hawk had been for her. Yes, you can, Maya, because I trained you, because your brother's name is worth fighting for, because somewhere up there David Chen is watching, and he wants to see his sister be the soldier he never got to become. I don't know if I can, ma'am. I do. Now tell me what you see. And Alex talked her through it. Same way Hawk had talked her through it. One shot at a time, one decision at a time, making the impossible possible through training and will and refusal to quit. 90 minutes later, the QRF extracted Maya's team. 3 wounded, 1 KIA, the rest alive because someone had taught them to make hard choices and live with the consequences. Maya called from the helicopter. "Ma'am, we made it." "Thank you." "Don't thank me, Sergeant. Thank your training. Thank your brother's memory. Thank everyone who came before you and taught you that sometimes surviving is its own form of victory." Will I ever stop being scared? Alex thought about her father's letter, about Hawk's funeral, about Ryan Cooper and Emma Rodriguez and David Chen waiting in whatever place the fallen went. No, but you'll learn that being scared and being a coward are different things. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what needs doing despite the fear. You did that today. Your brother would be proud. Were you scared 5 years ago when you were where I am? Terrified, still am. Every mission, every decision, every time I send someone into danger. How do you deal with it? I remember what my father wrote in his last letter. Be better than me. Be braver. Choose the hard right over the easy wrong. Then I do it, or try to. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I fail, but I always choose. The line went quiet for a moment. Then Maya spoke again. "Ma'am, thank you for everything, for training me, for being there, for showing me what it means to be a soldier. Pass it forward, Maya. That's all I ask. When you're where I am someday, remember this conversation. Remember someone believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. Then find someone else who needs that belief and give it to them." "Yes, ma'am, I will." Alex hung up the phone, looked out at Fort Bragg, at the ranges where generations of soldiers had learned to shoot, to fight, to survive. Somewhere in Montana, Maya Chen was flying south, alive, scared, changed by violence but not broken by it, just like Alex had been, just like her father had been before circumstances broke him. The cycle continued, teacher to student, legacy to inheritor, the chain of knowledge passing forward through time. Alex walked back to the firing range, stood where Hawk had stood when he first taught her, where she'd stood when she taught Maya, where someday Maya would stand teaching someone else, the last sentinel. Except she wasn't the last, wasn't even really a sentinel anymore, just a teacher passing forward what she'd learned, hoping the next generation learned faster, fought smarter, survived longer. Her radio crackled one more time. "Major Rivers, you have a visitor at the main gate. Colonel," the voice paused, "states his name is Morrison." Alex froze. "That's impossible. Colonel Morrison is dead." "Yes, ma'am, the visitor is aware. Says he's Morrison's son, James Morrison, Jr. Says his father left something for you." Alex's heart hammered. Hawk had a son? In 30 years, he'd never mentioned it. "Send him to my office." She walked across base, mind racing. Hawk never talked about family, never mentioned children, never gave any indication there was someone beyond the uniform. Her office was small, functional, photos on the wall, her team, Hawk, her father in his younger days. A knock. "Come in." The door opened. A man entered, 60s, gray hair, Hawk's eyes. "Major Rivers," he extended a hand. "James Morrison, Jim. My father spoke of you often." Alex shook his hand. He never mentioned he had a son. He never mentioned a lot of things. That was his way. Jim pulled an envelope from his jacket. "He left this for you. In there were to deliver it after you'd successfully trained your first student to command level." "How did you know?" "I've been watching, from a distance. Same way my father watched over you for 10 years before making contact. He taught me that good teachers observe before they intervene." Jim handed her the envelope, newer than her father's letter, but the handwriting was the same as Hawk's field reports. Precise, controlled. "I'll leave you to read it," Jim said. "But before I go, I want you to know something. My father's last words were about you. He said, 'Tell Alex she exceeded every expectation. Tell her David would be proud. Tell her I am.' He left me a letter that said the same thing. The letter was for protocol. The last words were truth. There's a difference." Jim left. The door closed. Alex sat, opened Hawk's final message. "Alex, if you're reading this, you've successfully trained your first student to command level. Congratulations. You've become the teacher instead of the student. The cycle continues. I want you to know something I could never say while I was alive. Training you wasn't duty, it was privilege. Your father asked me to watch over his daughter. I agreed because I owed him. But somewhere along the way, you stopped being an obligation and became the daughter I never got to raise properly. Jim will tell you I was an absent father. He's right. I was. I chose the mission over him for 30 years. By the time I retired, he was grown and we were strangers. I didn't want that mistake repeated. So I did for you what I couldn't do for him. I was present, available, invested. Maybe that makes me a hypocrite. Maybe it makes me a coward who found it easier to mentor someone else's daughter than face my own son. I don't know. What I know is this. You were the second chance I didn't deserve. The opportunity to prove that some broken things can be fixed if you're willing to do the work. David Rivers was my brother, my friend. When he died, part of me died too. Training you brought that part back. Reminded me why we fight, why we sacrifice, why we keep getting up after being knocked down. We do it for legacy, for the belief that what we build will outlast us. You are my legacy, Alex, not my rank, not my medals, not the operations I ran or the enemies I killed. You. And now you've built your own legacy in Maya Chen, who will build hers in someone else. And on until the chain extends so far we can't see where it started. That's immortality, not living forever, but creating something that does. Thank you for letting me be part of yours. The last sentinel stands not because she's the last, but because she taught others to stand with her. Remember that. Hawk. Alex read it 3 times, then put it with her father's letter. 2 messages from 2 men who'd shaped her life. 2 different relationships. 2 different legacies. But the same truth underneath. We don't fight alone. We fight for each other. We teach each other. We lift each other up when gravity pulls too hard. And when we fall, we make sure someone's there to catch the torch before it hits the ground. Alex stood, walked to the window, looked out at Fort Bragg where generations of soldiers had learned the same lessons. Be brave, be better, be the person others need you to be, even when you're not sure you can. Her father had tried, failed, died trying. Hawk had succeeded, then passed the lesson forward. Now it was her turn. To teach, to guide, to be the voice on the radio saying, "You can do this," when everything said you couldn't. The cycle continued. And somewhere in Montana, on a mountain that had nearly been a grave 5 years ago, Maya Chen was learning what it meant to survive when survival seemed impossible. Learning what Alex had learned, what Hawk had taught her, what her father had died never quite understanding. That the last sentinel was never really the last. There was always another, always someone watching, always someone ready to stand when darkness came. Alex picked up her rifle, walked to the range, started practicing. Because tomorrow, someone else would need teaching. Someone else would call scared and desperate and counting rounds that wouldn't be enough. And she'd be ready. The way Hawk had been ready for her. The way she'd helped Maya be ready. The cycle continued. Teacher to student, legacy to inheritor, sentinel to sentinel. The watch had no end, just changes in who stood it. Alex Rivers took her post, counted her rounds, remembered everyone who'd stood before her, and prepared for the next call. Because somewhere in the darkness, someone always needed saving, and someone always answered. That was the legacy. That was the truth. That was what it meant to be the last sentinel, not the end of the line, just the latest in a chain that stretched back through time and forward into forever. Standing watch, holding the line, refusing to let darkness win. One shot at a time, one student at a time, one choice at a time, until the last round was spent and the last word was spoken and the last lesson was taught. And even then, someone would pick up the torch. Someone always did. The sentinel stood, the watch continued, the legacy lived on.